Hello everyone, Jeff Arwady here, Senior Salesforce Developer for ASM Services out here in Michigan, and I am privileged to create a video blog for you today all about the new Cloud9 IDE for Salesforce and the oohs and ahs commence. I was ecstatic to be approached by Cloud9, and they have a fantastic team over there. So I'm really looking forward to going through an actual basic programmatic application on the platform, which I think is the best way to demonstrate what it can do. Before I do that, though, I want to show you this diagram. This is not earth-shattering by any means, but it does put certain tasks into these four basic camps. And this is not the end-all be-all dev diagram by any means, but basically as devs we're going to be creating things, we're going to be editing things to meet the requirements of the project, then testing and debugging to make sure that it works functionally, with the behavior testing, user acceptance testing, make sure we have the code coverage, and then we're going to deploy. And this is pretty typical. If you come into Cloud9 with the expectation that it's going to do all these things, then you're not going to have the best experience. And so what you really want to do is peg Cloud9 into the edit space, because that's the space that they're trying to conquer, and I think they do a fantastic job of that. And if we're honest as Salesforce developers, we have tools that make it pretty easy to create things, fairly simple tools for testing and debugging, and then we have our change sets and packages for deploying, and that all comes with Salesforce. Not to say that we don't want to have it all in one basket one day, but where we're really hurting is this edit space. So I'm glad that they picked this space to begin their journey, to begin their process, if you will, of creating this fantastic IDE. By the way, I have it on good authority that fairly soon we may see them branching out into other parts of this continuum. But we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing specifically how that's going to look. So we're going to focus on the edit space, as I said, with Cloud9. And really they've gone ahead and created, I think, a simple, clean, and rather elegant interface. Everything you've come to expect from Cloud9 if you're familiar with it, and most of the tools that you've come to expect from an IDE on the Force.com platform. So for my demo today, I have a dev org here. I went ahead and created a custom field and a button. That's really all I've done. Other than that, it's a clean dev org. And I have my Cloud9 nifty workspaces dashboard here. And we're going to start with this. So the objective, really simple, what I'm trying to get across, or what I'm trying to do with this programmatic process, is I'm trying to check a box called appropriately checkbox on the account object. So when we insert new accounts, we have the checkbox field, which I've created. We have that set to true. So I want to test that. I want to write a trigger and a class, and I also want to do a Visualforce page, which will allow me to just see the name and that checkbox field for a particular record. So I'm going to do all that in Cloud9. I'm not going to go too much into Lightning. However, I will create a Lightning project for you, and I will show you what that looks like in the Cloud9 editor also, just so you get a sense of how it would be to work on a Lightning project in Cloud9. And they do support that for sure. So we're going to get started by just hitting this rather obvious box here, create a new workspace. And I can't stress enough just how happy I am with this. With other IDEs as developers, we have to do these somewhat absurd rituals where we're crossing our fingers and we're hoping it's not going to crash and Eclipse. And with this, we simply type in what it is that we're trying to do. We don't want capitals. We're going to select Salesforce Workspace, select our environment, and then hit Create Salesforce Workspace. The only other step is signing in to the org one time. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And from there, it automatically creates the workspace for me, creates the container, etc. And I'm in. This is fantastic. And here's something that's also fantastic. We get live updates that are pushed to us. We don't have to go out and seek these. No more what version of whatever IDE should I be on for whatever task I'm trying to do. They're going to automatically push these updates out to you, and they're constantly working to improve the platform. So we don't have a dead IDE here, quite the opposite. We have a thriving IDE with a community of developers in and of themselves at Cloud9 who are just pouring resources into this to make this the best that it can be. So I love the live updating, and I love the fact that it sort of forces you to have the best set of tools available. Okay. And afterwards, it reloads and begins this process. We see the dots over here where it says Developer Preview. And it starts to connect to my dev org, and it finds all of this information, automatically organizes it in folders for me. Gotta love the folks over at Cloud9. We feel obligated to tell you that using this app may cause excessive excitement, improvements in productivity, elevated mood, and a tingling sensation, all of which I actually experienced while using this. It was quite good. So here we are. I'm going to close the README, and I'm going to show you how I like to configure this just so I have an optimal workspace. I usually go ahead and close this down here. And then under Window, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of things that we're just not going to use at this point. Not to say that these things won't eventually be more compatible, shall I say, with the Force.com experience, but the ones that I tend to use with Cloud9 that are reliable are obviously this workspace over here, which is really nice. I can tuck that away. And then the outlines, so when I'm in a large block of code, it can then break that apart for me. So two things I want to show you right away. If I click this green plus and then click the new immediate window, it defaults to a JavaScript window, but down here in the lower right, I can click, and if I select query force.com, I get something that executes SOQL and shows me data right in the IDE, which is very nice. And actually, I'll go ahead and when I hit enter, I'm presented with this nice table here. Very clean, very easy to read, very easy to use. And when I'm all done, I just push this button here and gone. I can also then change this to the apexforce.com, and this is where I will be able to execute anonymous Apex code. The only hiccup with this right now is that when you hit the enter key, it does execute the code. So most of us developers are used to just hitting enter for that carriage return, which does work fine in all the other editing windows. But in this one, when I hit enter, it's going to go ahead and execute that code. So if I was to do something like, something like this, and hit enter, then it would run the code that I have. So I'm going to use shift enter and then actually put in my second line here. Now I'll hit enter. And I get a log that comes back. And do they have the ability to search within this log? Absolutely. With Control F, I can go ahead and search for the user debug statement. And if I want to get more specific, right, I can keep going, put my bracket in, and I can put the line number that I'm looking for, and I can search by that line number as well. Escape will clear that away, and I'll go ahead and close this window. Okay, you'll notice that it keeps every once in a while doing that animation there, and that's because every minute or so it's talking to Salesforce to make sure that I have the most up-to-date stuff in the IDE. I don't have to go out and fetch that. If I want to, though, to force it to update, I can by going to the File menu and then simply clicking Refresh from Salesforce. So that's very, very cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is create some things in Salesforce, and then I'm going to edit them, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to go back into Salesforce now and actually launch the developer console. Okay, maximize this. So, I've kind of mapped out what I want to do. I'm going to start with a test factory. Oops. And then I'm also going to have an account handler. I do test-driven development, so I usually start with the tests. I'm also going to have the actual account handler itself, and I'm going to have, let's see here, the account trigger, which we'll put on account. And I am also going to have a Visualforce page, which I'm just going to call account checkout, right? So not much pain there. These are the tools that we have, and as I was saying, we already have a pretty good tool set here just to go ahead and create a bunch of these classes and triggers. I'll put this away and go back to Cloud9, and now I'll go refresh from Salesforce. And I'll wait for the animation to complete, and when it completes, all those things that I just created, the classes, the Visualforce page, and the trigger, automatically show up. I can resize this little guy here. And I've got everything just like that, and very, very easy to see that. What about the metadata, the meta XML? If you go to the gear and click Show Hidden Files, your meta is here, and you can edit it just as you would, say, in Eclipse. So haven't lost any functionality there, but you can hide it, which really cleans up the workspace quite nicely, and I think that's a great feature as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is just start writing some code. We'll start with our test factory, so I'm just double-clicking it, and huzzah, we have Apex down here. So this is great. Besides the normal languages, we have Apex, we also have Lightning, and we also have Visualforce now built in for our code completion and for our editor. Really fantastic. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing I'm going to do, because this is going to deal with accounts, I'm going to make a test factory for the accounts like so. Now I'll use Control S and I'll save. I can see that it does that animation, and it's actually doing an API deployment in the background to Salesforce, and it's getting this class updated. So let's verify that what I did there actually works. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the developer console. Right? Now if I go to my test factory, I can see that what I just did in Cloud9 is now here in the dev console. So it definitely proves that we have that two-way syncing between Salesforce and Cloud9. Okay, very good. The next thing I want to do is my testing, like so. Okay, so given that we have an account, so now this is great because I don't have to update my package XML. I don't have to restart my browser window like with the dev console. It knows that I have the test factory. So that's really very, very good. Equals tf dot, and then I have all these things here, and if I wait for a second, it goes to the method. Gives me that nice tip there, so I click on that. This is also really cool as well. One of the things I love about the editor is that the cursor, when I'm auto-completing methods that require parameters, or may or may not, I should say, require parameters, is that the cursor is inside of the parentheses. That you can see that right here. So now I can put the parameter right in here. I don't have to then, stop typing, hit that back arrow, and then put the thing in and go forward. And actually, I had to sort of relearn to get used to the more intuitive way here because I'm so used to hitting the arrow to go back. But it really saves you a lot of time. With that autocomplete, you're inside the parentheses, and you can put the parameter right in. So I'm going to just call this test account. Great. Okay, and now we have when the account is inserted. Right, so we'll use our test.start, which it has here. Again, I'm inside there, nice. And then I can say, actually, insert a test.stop test, wonderful, okay. It's very intuitive. Then the checkbox field should be true. Okay, so we'll have to query the database to see what happened after the insert. So a equals select ID, and then our checkbox field from account. Great, and then we'll use our system assert equals. Again, we're inside the parentheses, so I'll just say true, comma. Oops, that was help me out there. Checkbox. Actually, my fault. A dot checkbox, and it has that autocomplete there. Okay, very good. And then I'll go ahead and hit Control S, and I will save that. Obviously, best practice would dictate that I should do a bulk test as well. I'm going to go ahead and spare you guys that, but I think you get the idea. This should, however, give me 100% code coverage once I actually write the logic. And so now I have my conditions, right? Whenever there's an account that gets inserted into the database, then the checkbox should automatically check itself, right? So not exactly a groundbreaking thing here, but it's what we're going with. So while I'm waiting for this to continue on, I'm just going to double click account trigger, launch it here, and jump right into this as well. So we want to say if trigger.is before, and if trigger.is insert, then we're going to go ahead and send it right to the account handler. I may have, let me take a look at this. Oh, I forgot to make that class, didn't I? Oh, by the way, if you double click, it opens. If you click and then slowly click, you can rename. So that's kind of a nice feature as well. So here we are. Let's go ahead and make this class. That should have been made first. Public void, and then this is going to be our checkbox method. I need to have a list of accounts, which I'm going to call a list. Okay, And what I need to do with these is iterate over them. And then I need to grab that checkbox field, which is right there, nice. And then I need to make that true. Okay, go ahead and save that. And then jump back over to the trigger. And now that this is actually in existence, I should be able to say, yes, there it is, account handler dot. There's the checkbox method there. And then I'll go ahead and put trigger.new, which gives me a list of account records in there, and I will save that as well. Now, did this on purpose to show you what happens when you do something incorrectly. So what it'll do when it tries to bring something over to Salesforce is this screen will pop up here. And what's nice is it gives you the exact information as if you went ahead and were trying to do the deploy. It tells you what the problem is, so you can go ahead and fix it. So in my case, if I go over here, this should be static. Go ahead and save this. And then once this is done over here, I can go back to the trigger. And this is one of the things that always annoyed me with other IDEs as well, is if you didn't make a change, it wouldn't let you save. Sometimes I have something over in a different bit of code and they depend on each other, like I just have to change that there. And now normally I'd have to backspace and then retype in the semicolon or just change this in some way. With Cloud9, you can just hit Control-S. And it'll run that change for you right through. And then connect these two together. So very nice. Now I have this code here. And what I want to do next in my flows, I want to go ahead and test to see if this is actually occurring, right? So now I want to make sure that this is actually true. And so what I'm going to do is jump back into Salesforce, and I'm going to go to the test execution. And then I'm going to grab the test that's right there, and I'll go ahead and run this test. Right, great, it passed. I can breathe a sigh of relief. And actually, you can hit the developer console, and what it will show me is that I have aggregate 100% code coverage, right? And also the individual code coverage amounts for the others. Okay, so that's fantastic. And just for grins, let me make sure this actually works. So if I go and I make a new account, okay, and I hit save, yep, there it is. That checkbox sure does check. Okay, very good. So now I'm going to jump back into Cloud9 and I'm going to open up this checkout page, and we'll go ahead and do some quick Visualforce markup. We'll do a basic page, just if I want to only see the checkbox and the name. So we'll just do the standard controller, right? And we'll say that's going to be account. And I like that it automatically indents rather. It really helps out there. And we'll do the standard Apex just for best practices page messages. Watch that you are case sensitive here for the autocomplete to work. So that's something. Right. And then we're going to go ahead and put in an Apex form tag. Okay. And then we'll put in an Apex page block tag. And I like that it doesn't automatically complete the rest. So very easy just to hit the space bar here, jump down the title, and then go ahead and put in the title of this, which actually is going to be the name of the account. Okay. Now, when I put in the close, I get that automatically. Very nice. Okay. And then I want to go ahead and put in, let's see, a page block section. Okay, title will be account detail. Great. And then we're going to go ahead and put in some output fields. And the first output field value is going to be account.name. Great. And then the second Apex output field will have a value of count.checkbox, fills that in for me. That's excellent. Okay, wonderful. And then I'll go ahead and put in some page block buttons, right, with a location on the bottom. And we'll go ahead and put in the command button with an action. And the action will be save. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and put in another command button, and the action will be cancel. Great. Forgot to put in values for save. And then over here we'll do the same thing, value for cancel. Wonderful. And now I will hit Control S and I will save this. So now if I go back into Salesforce, I did build this custom button, and the custom button links to the Visualforce page, and it provides the ID of the record. So when I click on this custom button, sure enough, I get my Visualforce page that fills in the title, and it shows me the checkbox and the account name. Get that cancel button and be right back where I started. Okay, fantastic. So that hopefully gives you an idea of how easy it is to use the Cloud9 IDE with the autocomplete. By the way, there's things like this I didn't showcase, which I should have, like collapsible sections. So really everything you could want in here is here. And again, it's very clean, elegant, simple. There's also different themes that you can run if you prefer this to be darker or more vibrant in color. And all of that is customizable, and that's just part of Cloud9 as well. So I'm going to leave you with how Lightning would function in this environment. And I'll go back to the developer console. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new Lightning application, and I'll just call this Lightning. And then I'm going to turn on these ancillary things that we need here. Close the developer console, go back to Cloud9, and then I'll go File, Refresh from Salesforce. And when it's done refreshing, you're going to find that Lightning application inside of the Aura folder. There's my Lightning application because I call it Lightning, and all those things that I turned on are here. And I love the fact that if I double click on the app, my code is set for Lightning. If I double click on CSS, my code is set for CSS. If I double click on JavaScript, my code is set for JavaScript. So very, very convenient to bring in Lightning apps or components and edit them in Cloud9 as well. Well, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me and going through all the wonderful things that Cloud9 has put into this IDE. As I said early on, we do hope that Cloud9 will expand out into these different realms, if you will, but Rome was not built in a day. I can tell you that a city under construction has never looked as good as the new Cloud9 IDE for Salesforce, and I just can't wait to see what they come up with next. Thanks for your time, and have a great day.